Welcome, everyone, to tonight's meeting. It's an honor as a MSBA board member to have a few people here tonight to attend our meeting. Our Executive Director, Kirk Schneiderwind, and our current President, Christy Peterson, and Greg Abbott, the best photographer in the world, have all come down from St. Peter and Shakopee to join us tonight at the meeting, and I believe they have something they'd like to say. Come on up.
Mr. Chair and members of the Albert Lea School Board, I want to thank you for having us here tonight, and it's for a special reason. I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota School Boards Association, and I'm here tonight to name Albert Lea student Max Richards as recipient of the Minnesota School Boards Association Robert E. Meeks Student School Board Member Scholarship. The $3,000 scholarship is one of only 3 in the state and is given as a way to reward, recognize, and encourage students to become involved in their communities through their school board while understanding the important decisions impact our students. School boards are there to support and strengthen the school district and the students they serve. Citizens run for school board for many reasons, and those who are effective focus on the outcomes of student success. There is no better way to get input from a student than to get input from your student school board member. Currently, we show 134 of our 331 public school districts in Minnesota have a student school board member serving on their school board. The Albert Lea School District and community should feel very proud to have Max working alongside them. I'm going to turn it over to our MSBA president, Christy Peterson.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. A committee of 5 MSBA Board of Directors selected the 3 winners from nearly 50 applications. And the committee members let me know that it was a really tough choice. Out of all of these high-achieving students, Max stood out from the rest. The committee cited Max for his work in school, in extracurriculars, and in community groups. From swimming and track to music and marching band, jazz band, and teaching trumpet lessons to other students, Max has been involved with the students in the local school district. Max also has been a force in the community, participating in community theater, being a blood drive volunteer, and being part of the Minnesota Youth Symphonies.
Congratulations.
All right, and then can I get the rest of the board to come up? We'll just get a board shot. And no hiding in the back, tall people in the back. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'll take a couple more just in case eyes are closed. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You can just set it by the desk.
Okay, take care of the first 3. Celebrating our district successes, got a couple employees of the month in December. And have they, Doris, have they got their stuff? Are they coming forward? Or yeah. Is Clarissa Miracle here? Come on up. And Bailey Becker. Well, go ahead. Pam, you're first. And then Bailey, you're next.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pam. Sorry.
I would like to honor Clarissa with the following message. Clarissa is a constant source of positive energy. She does a phenomenal job of collaborating with and supporting the families she works with. You can tell how much she cares about them and her colleagues.
All right, Bailey, and that looks like Ashley. Come on up.
So please welcome Bailey here tonight. So for December 2024, this is what her nominator wrote about Bailey. Bailey is a long-term sub with a great responsibility. She cares for the health needs of students, administers medication, and manages many other tasks. We are so happy to have her here in our district. Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything? Thank you.
Congratulations, ladies, and thanks for all your hard work. Okay, we're going to move on to number 5, which is our open forum, and we do have some speakers tonight, so I'll just read off our forum presentation rules. The open public forum will be placed on the agenda for regular school board meetings. During this part of each regular school board meeting, up to 30 minutes of time will be allowed for district constituents to address the school board. Each person is asked to identify him or herself by name, and if he or she represents an organization, the name of the organization. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Each presentation may have up to 2 minutes. The school board will not hear complaints about individual school employees or permit any discussions of such matters in an open meeting. No response, reaction, or action shall be necessarily be taken by the board during the open forum portion of the meeting, and the school board will take no action at a meeting on an issue raised for the first time by the public. And we have a list, so let's see, Lydia S., come on up first.
I initially started asking questions this last fall when I walked into school and saw a young student running through the hallways and staff was positioned throughout, shifting as the student ran in circles around them. I was so confused and asked if they needed help. They responded that state policy doesn't allow them to touch the child, so they just have to stand there and make sure the child stays somewhat contained. When I voiced my concern about this, the administrator didn't seem to share the same concern, so I figured maybe I was just being dramatic. I continued to hear stories in my carpools and from other students, parents, and staff similar and worse to what I had witnessed, which is what eventually led me to reach out to the administrator to meet and discuss how student behaviors were being handled. I walked away from this meeting still not feeling like I had any answers and even feeling more unsettled than I went in. There was no acknowledgement that there was a concern, and I was even called out for using the term chaos. So I found it especially ironic that 3 days later, there was a student assault police report published in the Albert Lee Tribune that, unbeknownst to me at the time, occurred 21 minutes before our meeting, and yet there was still no acknowledgement that there was concern, even though some extreme behaviors that were happening in school were leading to police reports. The administrator challenged the information that I brought to him via my 5th grade student and said that more details and examples would be needed from her. This fueled my quest to show him that it wasn't me or wasn't just a staff member telling school secrets, that this was a full-blown issue. I compiled student feedback over the weekend and presented in an email. This prompted a second meeting, this time with the superintendent present. In this meeting, the administrator continued to deny the validity of these examples that he requested by saying, yes, but you say yourself they aren't 100% factual. That is true. I did state right in my email that even though these may not be 100% factual, they are still 100% student perspective about their school day, and that still is big cause for concern. Because these student examples were rejected as not valid, an additional anonymous survey was created in an effort to hear from a more widespread adult population. This survey brought in 159 submissions and more than 40 direct messages.
Okay, thanks. Dak, would you like, I see Dak S. next. Come on up. See, pick
A number of our survey submissions touched on how their child is now experiencing signs of trauma due to the behaviors they are witnessing. So in an effort to be sensitive of one child's trauma, trauma is now being formed for another child. As they witness other students' behavior go unchecked, will they destroy rooms, stab teachers with pencils, and throw chairs, desks at staffs, or threaten children when they finally are removed from the classroom? They return back with a fidget and a fruit snack and Rice Krispie bars, only further confusing our students about what is acceptable behavior. The following parents are sharing their own child's story or a student's parent story that was submitted speaking to some of the behaviors that are not being managed effectively and are creating serious safety concerns. Our third grade son was threatened by another student that was going to hunt him down and kill him. That thing we've heard from the administration regarding this incident was that she was just using big words. It was 39 days since the threat was made, and we are still not having any response to the emails regarding the incident, which has still questioning how the situation was handled. Was our child talked to? What role did they play in this, if any? Was a school resource officer involved? Was this addressed with the other child and parents? How can we have peace in knowing that safety is a top priority if we have no communication and how serious threat is handled? And I got 30 seconds. I'll continue my thing. When I walk into a school, the door is open. I walked in, sat down, asked for a meeting. The administrator sat down, and he listened to my words that I addressed, which were some big words. And if he felt threatened, I got charged with trespassing, which I don't know how that happens, disorderly conduct, man-to-man conversation. He can't take that, and that's what we hire him for. And he feels threatened, but my child, third grade, doesn't feel threatened. Yeah, you bet.
All right, Abby M. would be next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hearing us out tonight. I am Abby Murray. After Dak and Lydia's story went public, Marissa reached out to share her child's similar story of a threat seemingly shrugged off. Marissa's son was threatened by another student. "I'm going to bring a gun to school tomorrow and kill you," while making thrashing gestures at his throat. This is her story. Despite the seriousness of the threat, the school did not notify us, Marissa, for 3 hours. When we arrived at school, I asked the dean to stay and talk with us. She left. The principal then attempted to shift blame onto Ryder and presented a completely different version of the story than what we had initially been told by the dean. It was stated that the student who made the threat would be allowed to return to school the next day with his bag checked only for 1 day. This was unacceptable to us as parents. During this meeting, we also discovered that the police had never been called and the student's bag had never been checked because, according to the principal, it's been a really busy day. Do gun threats not take priority? We were repeatedly told, "We think this was just said out of anger." But isn't that exactly when people act on violent impulses, when they're angry? During a 2-week span, our son lost 7 pounds due to stress and anxiety from this threat. Learning that a similar incident occurred just a week or two after Ryder's experience makes it clear that no real changes have been made despite claims that they would, and I quote, "do better next time." School safety should always be the #1 priority, with education following closely behind. It is our understanding that the current philosophy the district is using to address behaviors states that consequences don't work and kids just need more love, but we disagree. Not being told no is exactly why these
Thanks, Abby.
Our children deserve better.
Thank you. Emma H.
My name is Emma Hobbin. I'm the president of LESO, which is the parent organization at Lakeview School, and a former teacher in the district. I have a 4th grader and a 5th grader at Lakeview. I also began asking questions after hearing Lydia's story, as well as numerous other disturbing stories my kids would tell me. I met with the school administrator who I worked with frequently with LESO, and I felt as though he brushed my concerns off as exaggerated and assured me there were no issues. He seemed to dislike my use of the word chaos when describing the current environment at Lakeview. My 5th grader comes home almost daily with stories of a bully in his class and who relentlessly teases kids, including SPED kids. He disrespects the teacher and he, in quotes, as my son would say, he makes the day seem really long because he misbehaves all day and they can't get anything done. There are little to no consequences for this student as he continues to hinder everyone else's learning while also being cruel to other students in the class. I asked the administrator about this, and he said, well, that is just your child's experience, again making me feel like it truly wasn't a big deal at all. My 4th grader frequently leaves the classroom with the rest of his class while a student, as the other kids say, rages out, or as the administrator calls it, redecorates the classroom, which includes behaviors such as standing on the desks and jumping across the room on them. How is it helpful for everyone else to leave and not the one student causing the distraction and unsafe behavior? I asked my kids why they didn't tell me these stories much before until I asked, and they said, because it happens every day. A kindergarten friend of ours also shared her experience when her mom asked her about her day, and the kindergartner, little girl, said, kids have big emotions and mess up the whole room. They throw really heavy things. I don't tell my teacher that I'm scared because I want to get a green day. Sometimes we leave the classroom and don't come back for a long time, like a picnic during phonics. Then another teacher and principal come and watch them when they are throwing the heavy stuff. I'm so scared my teacher is going to get hurt every day.
Thank you, Emma. Sadie W.
Thank you. My name's Sadie Werflein. I have a 5th grader at Lakeview. She's been at Lakeview since kindergarten. Several weeks ago, I was included in a group message from a friend, Lydia, who also has is also a Lakeview parent. Her child had obviously experienced a concerning issue at school, and she was asking other parents on this message if they had similar experiences they'd be willing to share. There were many responses. It was story after story about behavior issues happening at school, and as I read through them, I found myself nodding and noting to myself, yep, I've heard this before. Almost every comment sounded like what my child had been telling me regularly for the last 2 years. It had become so normal that I wasn't even finding it concerning anymore. But reading these comments from other parents was a wake-up call for me that this is not a healthy environment for these kids to be learning in, and something needs to be done. My daughter's a good student. She has good behavior. She gets good grades. She helps other students. She still loves going to school. She would never miss a day. That has changed. Ever since last year, she has anxiety about going to school to the point that it makes her sick. She's missed several days and gone in late several days because of not feeling well because she doesn't want to go to school. She begs me to let her stay home and to homeschool her. Not long into the school year last year, she started telling me about these lockdowns at school that would happen. This is her term, lockdown, where you're not allowed to leave the room. They lock the door and nobody can go out, even if they don't feel well or have to go to the bathroom, because of something that's happening outside, or about classes sitting in the hallway and other classes have to walk through. She even told me one time during a lockdown lasted several hours, and I thought it was an exaggeration, so I said, did you get to go to lunch? And she said, yeah, Mom, but we had to take a different route, and then when we went by this one spot, we all had to run. As a class, they had to run to get to lunch safely at school. All of this is concerning, but what I'm most concerned about is the day-to-day experiences she talks about in her classroom, the constant disruption with the kids in her classroom, to the point that her teacher is regularly in tears, a veteran teacher. There is no consequence for the behavior of these kids, and it's highly disruptive to all of the other students in the room.
Thank you, Sadie. Betsy S.
Hi, my name is Betsy Smith, and I'm a parent in the district. I have a 4th grader at Lakeview. Sorry. My husband and I have had concerns about behaviors in the classroom and school since the 2023-2024 school year. Our son was in 3rd grade and had multiple students in his class that would have emotional disruptive outbursts. Our son would come home from school and say, "We got to have extra recess 2 times today or 3 times today," as his class would need to evacuate their room because a student was, in the terms of the current administration, redecorating the classroom. So because of one student's actions, 20+ other students missed out on learning time rather than that one student being removed to calm down before returning to the classroom. Our son has always been a good student and happy to go to school, but over the last 1.5 years, we have seen a shift in his demeanor. He has made comments like, "Please don't send me to school. It's scary sometimes. Why do I have to go?" Students should not have to be worried about their safety during the school day or being able to protect their teachers. Our administration needs to take a minute and seriously consider all of the feedback that parents have taken the time to report. As my 9th grade student in the district said, when we were discussing this at home after the after the article that was put in the newspaper about the current curriculum being such a positive success, consequences have been taken away, and with that order, students no longer have consequences when they do something wrong, so why would they choose to do something right? It's pretty mind-boggling to me that a 14-year-old understands that consequences are a part of learning, and without them, we lose all control. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Mark H.
My name is Mark Haben. I'm a parent of 2 children at Lakeview. So thank you all for taking your time to hear us out. But by the turnout tonight, I think we've touched a nerve, and I think parents are kind of fed up with what we're dealing with and what we're seeing and experience from our children's perspective. And we want change. Our children deserve better than what we're currently giving them. And I hope, I got a chance to sit down with Mr. Krenz here last week and talk about a few of the things along with my wife and Lydia, but I think it comes down to leadership. We need stronger leadership in the schools and to work with these children, to give them on the right path to help create an environment where all children can flourish and succeed, not just a certain set group of them. But that strong leadership brings with the possibility of a poor public perception too. I mean, right now, the school district had a $2.6 million deficit. And I look at it from my own thoughts, and I just perceive that that $2.6 million has to come from somewhere. Is it property taxes? I was uninformed until Mr. Krenz kind of informed me, but you look at it from the citizen's perspective, where does that money come from? We're looking at declining student population. Districts around us right now are actively recruiting our children to come to Alden, Hollandale Christian School, the Catholic school, homeschooling. We need that student population to be able to support the town and to support our district financially and for the children and for the teachers. Our teachers are leaving in droves, it feels like. We're losing a lot of good quality veteran teachers to outside districts that we would love to have them here because those are the strong leaders that we want to be able to teach our children and to be integrated into our community. The liability standpoint is, at what point does the school district get sued because they've turned a blind eye to so many incidents that could have been resolved or been held, whose children could have been held accountable? So, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Casey W.
Hello, I'm Casey Walters. I am a parent of a 5th grader in the district. We hear from administration that they are trying to earn back the trust of the staff and the community. To do that, we encourage you to accept honesty and transparency. Our teachers and paras have the most valuable insight. They know their students best. And yet the feedback we've heard is that they don't feel as though they can freely manage behaviors accordingly or speak up about what they are seeing without retaliation. We cannot continue to silence our staff into submission if their feedback doesn't align with our desired image or results. The Tribune article from the last weekend and the devastating news about a 5th grader in our community emphasizes the mental health crisis. While we can't control what happens at home, we can control how we handle behaviors, bullying, threats inside our schools and ensure our students feel safe. We have seen firsthand the countless hours administration and board members have spent trying to right the ship, and we want you all to get the credit you deserve for immediate action you're now taking to address the very serious concerns that we have raised these past few months. We are asking you to speak openly about the concerns the community is voicing and then tell us what immediate action you have taken and what discussions are being had to determine the future action. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We don't make comments during this time, but Lydia, I just had a quick question. Do you have an opportunity to hand the research? I mean, are you guys going to do that, or have you had a chance with Mr. Krenz, or, I mean, what, that you received in the survey?
The submissions?
Yeah. Yep.
You're asking if I had a chance to submit the
Yeah,
submissions we've
well, as you
received?
put the results together, if you've like done a
Yes,
summary and all
I
that?
do have all of the submissions, and we thought we would submit to all of you after this meeting.
Okay, good. I was curious. Thank you very much. And again, everyone for stopping in and voicing your concerns. Oh, Dave, yeah, I'm sorry, Dave.
And she's been sharing that information with me too. We've met back and forth, so.
Thank you, everyone. Dave, thank you. Okay, we're at number 6. I'll be looking for an approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion is made
Second.
and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose the same sign. Okay, agenda approved. Consent items, you had a chance to read through those. I'd look for a motion again to accept those consent as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on consent? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose the same sign. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to reports. David Krenz, Superintendent.
Chair Platt, members of the Elderly School Board, Elderly Community. My report tonight is a little bit more lengthy than it normally is. A lot has been going on over the last few weeks. First of all, I want to start off with oh, gee, I always forget the button, don't I?
Me too. I felt mine.
Thank you, everyone. That was my report, though. Start off by congratulating Max again. That's a great honor. So be very proud and spend the $3,000 well. Do you have any plans for where you're going to go?
Yeah, I'm going to the U of M.
Okay. They'll eat up that $3,000 pretty quickly. So good luck.
Thank you.
Second part, as you heard tonight, there are concerns by the community, and they've shared those concerns with me. I've been meeting with several of the parents throughout the last few weeks to listen to their concerns. Changes have been made in certain protocols that we have in place, and beginning this week, we're going to be providing more support at Lakeview also. So we continue to listen, we continue to address issues, and it's not falling on deaf ears. But we also know that there's a lot of great things that are going on in the district, and we need to make sure that everyone is helping out. And we see that, we see the support of our principals coming forward to help one another, the successes of our students, and we want to continue with that. But we don't want to leave anybody out of the process. Finally, I think, or not finally, there's one more thing after this. You were all notified of a crisis that happened over the weekend. And I want to thank our district crisis team, especially Kirsty Kenneth, on her work to meet immediately, address the issues, and again, provide support for the family, the families at Sibley, and the staff at Sibley. Anyone that is harmed within the community needs all of our support. And we're working very hard to make sure that that support is there as needed. And then finally, something, again, very positive, a group of our senior high, our high school students, under the direction of Jim Haney, will be receiving an award, an honor, this Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the high school auditorium. It's from C-SPAN, and it's for the work they've been doing. The students are Brian Johnston, Ben Scholes, and Sam Stay. So if you get a chance at 10 o'clock to head over to the high school, that would be a great opportunity to help support some of our students. That's my report. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. All right, let's, school board reports. Oh, no, we'll get to you guys in a minute. Kim, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Dave. I attended the policy committee meeting. We reviewed 12 policies that we're going to go through tonight. It's a good meeting, very planful for those that presented, so I appreciate the details and all of the backup. And then I'm looking forward to participating in, I reviewed some scholarships this year, and so I'm looking forward to scholarship night on May 7th. That's all I have.
Thank you. I've attended several committee meetings since our last reports. The insurance committee meeting, Aaron Casper is our consultant there, and I'm sure that Paul is going to have some things to say about that later on in our agenda. The bottom line there is that, as most people know, we have a self-insured arrangement, which means to a certain extent we are the insurance company, and so we are the ones that determine the premium rates, et cetera. And at the recommendation of our consultant Aaron Casper, we will be forced to increase that rate by approximately 10%, and it is largely a result of the action that has occurred at our clinic. Met with Sheila and Superintendent Lenz, I think it was last week, concerning some possible changes in the special ed department, and that's ongoing, very interesting. The Finance Committee is a meeting quite regularly lately, approximately every 2 weeks, was pointed out, as a result of a lot of things, not the least of which is declining enrollment. We are facing some financial challenges. And I will say this, I've said it many times, we, like any other institution, we have income and we have expenses. And it's not good when our expenses exceed our income. And it's our job to make arrangements so that doesn't happen. Well, our income is a function of, among other things, student enrollment, and that's going down. I've been connected with this district for a long time as a professional in the late 60s, and at a time when our student population was constantly going up at a rather rapid rate. There have been some times in that long history where the district has faced financial difficulties, but I'm pretty convinced that our current situation with declining enrollment, it's a bit more severe than it has been in the past. So we need to adjust our expenses, which is not easy to do, and that is what our Finance Committee is going to be struggling with for the next, until the end of June, when we have to make some decisions, final decisions about the budget for next year. One other postscript on that, We, as a policy of the board, have provided for a 12% balance. That is 12% of our annual budget. We have stashed away in our checking account. And that's a goal. That's a policy of the board. And I know as a teacher long ago, and I did not know as much about these things, it occurred to me that, well, we have 12%, let's spend that, that'll solve all our problems. But it doesn't work that way, because we need that balance in order to meet expenses in case our income is interrupted, as it oftentimes is, by the state of Minnesota in their funding. But more importantly, if we spend 1% more than we take in, as we did last year, we cannot continue. We cannot operate on that basis because eventually we will have zero balance, and then we will go into operating debt, and that's an ugly situation. Well, enough about the Finance Committee. I also met with the Education Foundation. Gary probably will have more to say about that. It's always an exciting time. I noticed in the consent items that the district received $19,000, a $19,000 donation that comes from the St. Paul, Minnesota Foundation. There's an endowed fund that provides Tiger student assistance. It comes directly to the district. We enjoy, the foundation receives lots of checks from the St. Paul, Minnesota Foundation to cover scholarships mostly. And last week, it was my happiness to meet with the high school staff where we went over all the applications for scholarships, and Max's name came up a few times, and that committee had the happy task of allotting those scholarships that are available to the people who applied for them, and that assembly will, I think it's been mentioned, will be on May 7th at 7 o'clock in the Commons, I believe, at the high school. So that's an exciting thing to do. There was something else, but I can't remember. So that's good. Thank you.
All right. 2 weeks ago, I attended the MSBA Superintendent Contract and Evaluation session. It was very good. Main points, topics were reviewing the Minnesota state laws in regards to SUP contracts and evaluations. Another topic was looking at the evaluation models and competencies and goal setting and clear understandings. So that was a great session. Been in district office informational meetings with Executive Director Durbin, Special Ed Sheila, Ashley. And, I just want to thank publicly Superintendent Krenz. Here was a man who, great career, 12 years in Austin, many experiences before that, but came out of retirement to be here. And I think I'm going to say it, we've been blessed that he's here to help through this transition. I've been in some of the parent meetings we've been having. I respect all the people who are speaking, and yes, there's things to address, and I want to make sure he's acknowledged because he's been doing a lot of work for a man who all he wanted to do was retire, and he's here. So thank you.
Angie?
All right. I attended the insurance committee meeting with Neil, when we went over the information that we will talk about soon tonight. That was scheduled actually at the same time as the Teacher of the Year committee meeting, so I missed that. However, I was able to attend the Teacher of the Year celebration, which was fantastic. Otherwise, I've been visiting quite a bit with Superintendent Krenz about a variety of issues, including what's been discussed tonight. And I just want to say I'm very appreciative of everyone, especially Lydia, who has brought light to some very valid concerns so we can address them. And I'm also very grateful for Superintendent Krenz's response You truly seem like you're listening and willing to take action. It's very appreciated.
Gary?
Yes, also attended the Teacher of the Year events. MSBA-wise, took in the superintendent training session. And kind of in conjunction with that, I did ask that the work of we had a subcommittee that was involved with putting together a model for superintendent evaluation. So I actually sent that to the subcommittee members. My goal would be, as a member of the committee, to have a model in place by July 1, so our new superintendent knows what the evaluation tool is, what the cycle is going to be over 3 years, and make that process very transparent. Also took in a legislative update review last Friday. Committee-wise, policy, finance, and again, we have challenges. Paul has done a wonderful job pulling us together and educating us. I specifically asked for a report on Tiger Cub, just to get an update on the finances, and I'm going to ask him to present that to the board before the end of June. I also asked for information on self-insurance. What does it look like? What are we paying? And it does have a positive impact on our insurance premiums. And I'm going to also ask that he would present that to the board. Perhaps in a workshop session tomorrow is also curriculum committee, I believe. On a personal note, but a connection to the school, our Lions Club is working with the city arborist and will be distributing trees to third graders on Friday in all the area schools, including outside of Albert Lee. Neil, thank you for the Education Foundation Scholarship update. Neil served on the Scholarship Collection Committee. I'm amazed when I see $5,000 and $10,000 scholarships coming out of that foundation. It is impressive. And we have a very engaged committee, and we have the pleasure, too, to have some Dan Dorman smoked pulled pork sandwiches. Whew, man. That was really good. I'm editorializing there. Sorry about that. And then also in the Alahasa, as a guy who's celebrating his 50th high school reunion this September, I saw on the high school playlist ABBA and Daryl Hall and John Oates. You guys know good music when you hear it.
Davey?
All right, I attended a meeting for the Freeborn County Family Services and Children's Mental Health Collaborative, long name. We had a couple of fund requests for Alden Conger and Glenville Ummons. Both of them were approved. I also attended the announcement of the Teacher of the Year finalist celebration. It was a great turnout. Congratulations to Andrew Gustafson on that one. I attended a meeting with Superintendent Krenz with Angie regarding administrative procedures. Just had a few questions, and it was a great meeting. You got all the answers, questions answered. It's nice getting to see, talk to you on a side note too. And then I also had discussions with Sheila regarding some of the special ed changes that are coming up. I think that's it. There you go.
Thank you. Just a couple things to add in. Max, first of all, congratulations. Thank you for applying. And I say that because every year it's come up, and I don't know if anyone else ever has, but it's great news. And, being part of the MSBA board, I sit back every year and I watch this and I go, gosh, it'd be nice to get something in Albert Lea. Well, great job, and good luck at the U of M, too. And thanks for all you're doing. I'm sure you're not done doing, so hang in there. Did attend the Teacher of the Year, and that was a great celebration, again, as everyone else mentioned. Had an opportunity to go to the Princess and the Pea, a little play production we had here recently, a couple weeks ago. Special ed meetings, tied up in baseball now and then. If you don't know why, you don't know me too well, and that's okay. And the Finance Committee, just wanted to kind of tag on to, Gary was there, tag on to Neil a little bit. It's hard sometimes to say we've got a savings account, but it's also good sometimes to say we don't need to worry and go immediately to the voters. As Mark had mentioned earlier too, it's not only the decline in enrollment, there's a lot of factors that are happening now in every community in Minnesota, and a lot of it tied back to a couple years ago when we were given a whole lot of one-time money, and we didn't spend it maybe the way we should have. We spent it for the kids, but we also spent on something that becomes a little more reoccurring. So we're trying to guard and protect that the best we can. Again, if anyone knows me, I'm always asking the financial questions. But, you know, as Neil mentioned also, if we drop 1%, and I know that's not a popular thing amongst our policy, but we've got about 3 months worth of operating expenses approximately, Paul. We only know this number once a year, and that's sometime around the end of June. So it's hard for them to really plan around, but I want to make sure that we do have enough. And I don't expect, I can't remember how many years ago, I was on a health services board over in Austin where they stopped payments from the state of Minnesota. Now, it was for about 2 weeks, and we had a savings account, fund reserve, whatever you want to call it, but it is kind of nice, and I think all of us probably feel the same way in our personal situations. So, yeah, a lot of work going ahead, but Paul, thanks for your leadership and all the information that we're getting now that we didn't always have all the information, and now it's good to be able to talk about it and discuss it. So, all right, enough of me. Teacher David, wait, no, let me go to the students first. So let's go, Max, I think you were the guy of the night. You start with your student report, and Carly follow up.
All right, first off, I just want to say thanks to the support of the board, especially Darcy and Kim for the scholarship. They both wrote me recommendation letters. So yeah, I can't believe I won it, honestly. It's pretty cool. I was not expecting that at all. So last month, I was not at the regular board meeting because I was on the choir trip, which we went to Nashville and Memphis from March 14th through 16th. And a couple highlights from that for me were going to a Grand Ole Opry show, which I'm not even a country music fan, but that was really, really cool. We got to see the Parthenon replica, go on Honky Tonk Highway, and in Memphis, we got to go to Beale Street, which is the home of blues, and the Civil Rights Museum, and then also the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid, which was pretty cool. We also had Tigers Roar at the high school on March 28th and 29th, which I got to perform in a few acts during that. We had 15 total performances, and we had over 50 students participate. So it was a really good way to showcase the good talent we have. A few highlights include the jazz band, the show choir, a clarinet choir, and a sax quartet. We also had a Budget City simulation for seniors at the high school, which happened on April 3rd. And this is the first time they've done something like that recently, I believe. And there was a lot of good feedback from it. It ended up being a lot more fun and insightful than I was expecting, and I heard other students say that as well. So hopefully that's something they can continue doing in the future to help prepare us for real-world adulting. Another good thing coming up, in May, the robotics team is heading to Dallas, Texas for the world competition, which I got to go there 2 years in a row in 9th and 10th grade. So I know that's going to be a good experience for them, and hopefully they can place well. Another thing we have coming up in May is the Big 9 Music Festival, which is always a highlight for our music program. So the top band, orchestra, and choir will head to Rochester, Mayo this year and perform for all the other schools there. And then at night, there's a select ensemble concert, which students have the ability to audition to participate in. So that's always a highlight for me. And then on May 2nd, we have the Mental Health Awareness Glow Run, which is happening, unfortunately, on the same day as Big 9. So I can't participate, but it's for a good cause. We need awareness for mental health, so that's a great thing. And then finally, last thing I have is my CIS Western Humanities class, which seniors have the option to take at the high school. Got to visit the Minneapolis Institute of Art last Wednesday on the 16th, and it was a really cool experience. If you've never been there, I would definitely suggest checking it out because it's free admission for everyone, and we got to see lots of cool artworks that we studied in class. So it was a great way to implement that into the real world.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Carly.
Hello. Obviously, the first thing I want to talk about is the Alahasa. Our issue 7 just came out, and yes, we do have great taste in music. But after this issue, we'll only have one more. It'll be issue 8, and that'll be our senior issue, so it'll have a bunch of like senior quotes and senior stuff in it. And then the next thing I want to talk about is the student council is having an Earth Day cleanup. I think that is tomorrow from like 6th through 8th hour. And then prom is on the 26th. Come and see the promenade at 2 o'clock. And then the last thing is NHS had their leadership day on March 26th. We had a bunch of presenters from the school district and from everywhere else come and speak to us about leadership and how to deal with things that leadership comes with. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. David, let's, one thing that we've gotten away from our teacher reps, give us your name, your school, how long you've been there, it's a little bit of your background, because a lot of us don't know everyone. I don't know everyone in the district, and so I'll turn it over to our teacher rep. Dave, go ahead.
Okay, David Enzer. I am currently a 5th grade teacher at Halverston Elementary. Been there for 5 years, teaching in the district, close to 10, with the exception of a handful of deployments overseas in between. So that's me in a nutshell. So thank you for the opportunity. Pleasure to be here. Chair, other board members, Superintendent Krenz, staff, and community members. Just a couple of things tonight from the teacher's perspective. They're finishing up over the next couple of weeks with administering and students take
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see, that should take us down to the effective and efficient operations. Mr. Durbin, health insurance renewal information.
Thank you, Chair Klott, School Board, Superintendent Krenz. I'm here to discuss our proposed health insurance premium increase for our annual renewal. And as you can see on our screen here, we have Aaron Casper with NIS, which is our consultant, National Insurance Services, that help us guide us on all things insurance. So I'll just give a brief introduction here of the topic tonight, and then I'll pass things over to Aaron, and we can get going on the topic. So as you know, and as it was mentioned earlier, we are self-insured. It is my opinion that being a self-insured district has been a very beneficial move for Albert Lea Schools, where we see other districts facing much larger swings and increases, sometimes in the 20–30%. We have some internal controls that help us maintain and continue having stable or more stable insurance increases. Our insurance provider is Blue Cross Blue Shield for health insurance, and as noted, we work with NIS to help us guide help guide us on all things insurance. This year's recommended premium increase is 10%, and as a board, you have had information provided you prior to this evening, and that may provide more context, but also we'll have Aaron speak here in a moment to help the board and public understand the rationale behind that increase. A couple highlights that Aaron may or may not touch on. Our standard loss and our MLR admin ratios are tracking higher than a healthy range. Speaking in simple terms, we have a small sample of high-cost claims that are creating a heavy impact on our group. And as those claims come in much larger cost and generate higher expenditures. However, the good news is that our overall claims are tracking well and seem to be down in comparison to past years, the exception being the high-cost claims that are really driving that rate increase. So couple highlights, both our Well at Work clinic, which I think was mentioned earlier, and our mobile option for staff to seek medical care, Healthiest You. Both of those partnerships are being utilized well, and they're showing that they're beneficial to our plan. So they're really helping keep, and I mentioned some of those other aspects that we have controls over, they're helping keep those costs down or relatively down. As you're aware, we would like to get approval this evening so we can begin our open enrollment processes before our employees leave for the summer break. and as our school year winds down. There will also be some changes for staff with dental and vision, so we would have some work to do to ensure this rolls out appropriately. And so a vote of approval or a vote this evening would be appreciated. So at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome Aaron Casper from NIS to the conversation this evening. Aaron, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate the introduction. Chair Klatt, Superintendent Krenz, and the directors of the board. So just a little bit of information for those of you that may not know. National Insurance Services is a full benefits consulting firm that really specializes in the public sector. So we work with 8 out of 10 K through 12 school districts here in Minnesota in some capacity or another, over 120 districts on medical insurance, whether they're self-insured, fully insured, or in a pooled plan. So just to give you a little background on kind of who National Insurance Services is relative to Albert Lea Schools and the state of Minnesota. We've had the pleasure of working with the district for many, many years on not only the medical insurance, but also the other lines of coverage, both dental and life and long-term disability insurance. Specifically, your second largest budget bucket, right? The medical insurance outside of salaries for your staff. We're asking the board to approve a 10% increase to our plan tonight on the medical insurance. We feel that that is going to sustain our plan. We've been self-insured, finishing up our 4th year at a renewal. I would agree with Paul. This was absolutely a good move for us to make this transition. We have had an uptick in claims, and as Paul alluded to, in particular, some higher claims. And really, that's impacted the overall market, including Albert Lea Schools, relative to our stop loss. And that's the reinsurance we purchase not only on individual specific claims, but also in the aggregate protection for our plan. And regardless of what funding model we'd be in, whether we're self-insured, which we are today, or fully insured, or in a pooled model, we would be paying as a portion of our premium equivalence or a risk premium stop loss protection. It's just who are we paying it for? Right now, we're paying for us, right? Our plan at Albert Lea. If we were in a pooled plan, we'd be paying for the pool's protection, or fully insured, we'd be paying for the carrier's protection. So just to kind of give you a 101 real quick on the medical side. Specifically for our plan, we have just slightly under 380 employees that are covered and their dependents, whether they be spouse or children. What we saw here most recently over the past year is about a 12% uptick in our overall claims. That's not too bad compared to the market, because when we think about that, medical trend or medical inflation is anywhere from 5% to on the low end, 4.5%, maybe 5% on the low end, maybe in the 7-county metro area, to as high as 12%, and arguably even a little bit higher, depending on who you talk to and where we are geographically in the state of Minnesota. If you were to take the state of Minnesota and divide it in thirds, going east to west, we fall in the bottom third, and we all know what that means. We're impacted by Mayo Clinic, because not only are we accessing Mayo Clinic for specialty services, it's really we're accessing the clinic for regular day-to-day services, and they are more costly clinic system to operate in. What we've seen in terms of rate increases out there in all funding mechanisms or models is anywhere from the 6-7% on the low side, as high as to the mid-20s so far for our July renewals. And I would repeat what I shared in the insurance committee back on the 25th of March. This really is a challenging time in the medical arena. We've seen increasing cost trend that are going up, as I just alluded to, and we've seen an overall increase in claims across the board in all of our clients, not only here in Minnesota, but elsewhere. And then what's really happened is that those larger cost claimants have impacted that stop loss. So that stop loss component, which is our protection, has ticked up in terms of the average increase from 18 to 24 months ago, around 15 to 18%. Now we're pushing the upper 20s and low 30s on that stop loss. Now, granted, that's a smaller component of our overall spend, but it's still a large component of our administrative expenses. So we feel certainly a 10% increase is warranted for our past claims, and we've communicated that to the insurance committee, and we meet on a typically a quarterly basis or every 4 or 5 months basis to go ahead and review the claims data with the representative insurance committee. So with that information, I know you've had the opportunity to review the more detailed information prior to the meeting tonight. I guess I would just open it up to any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions for Aaron? Go ahead, Angie.
Aaron, during the insurance committee meeting, did you mention the possibility of putting together a plan where employees can save dollars both for themselves and for the fund if they are going to lower cost providers? I thought maybe you mentioned something about that towards the end of the meeting, but didn't catch a whole lot about it.
Yeah, sure. What I'd say there is we did talk about a different network option that would exclude Mayo Clinic. And we ultimately decided against that for a couple different reasons. Number one, it wouldn't be to our advantage as a self-insured plan to allow that program to be accessible to all three of the three different plan options that we have in terms of the variable deductible levels. And so we'd only offer that on the highest deductible plan. Second of all, we want to always protect revenue in a self-insured model. So the largest decrement decrease that we'd be able to offer in that model would be around a 10% decrease on that particular plan. So we're probably not going to get a huge bang for our buck if we were to go ahead and make that transition. And then ultimately, we took a look at kind of where we're accessing care today or where our members are accessing care. And by doing that, that would more than likely limit our folks, the general access to more specialty care in our near-term vicinity. So that would probably lend itself to more travel for those individuals should some things arise. But it is something that I know that we've talked about historically. We did look at that. We did bring that back to administration. And in talking to administration, we elected not to bring that forward to the board tonight.
And Aaron, if I can chime in there, that's something we can commit to providing more information on in a board update for the board to continue to review.
Certainly.
Any other questions for Aaron? All right, seeing none, I would look for a motion to accept the proposed 10% increase on our health insurance premiums this year.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
And open for discussion. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none.
Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I think it has been pointed out that relative to the out-of-Mayo network option, our staff has every right to opt for care at any facility they choose. As everyone knows, I think I've been a champion of the out-of-Mayo option for a long time, and I still have that dream, but I'm perfectly willing to accept the recommendation of Mr. Casper and Mr. Durbon.
Any other comments or discussion?
We didn't really talk about it, but there's also the Well at Work clinic that helps us with keeping our premiums down, right? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's two programs that have been really well received by our members and have had a direct positive financial impact on our plan. That's the Teladoc virtual care Healthiest You program, as well as our Well at Work clinic, which we actually share administrative costs with Freeborn County. So we're running right on the screws at capacity for that clinic. So it's really nice that we've got the Healthiest You option also available. Yeah, we've seen taking a look back at the data that was presented in the packet, over $147,000 of claims redirection from our Healthiest You virtual clinic alone. So both these programs have been extremely well received by our members and are helping keep our costs down. Absolutely.
And just to chime in and celebrate those two opportunities for our staff, the Well at Work Clinic, we're seeing same-day appointments, and we're getting really strong reviews, positive reviews from our staff. In the Healthiest You option, we're seeing staff getting appointments in response within 5 minutes of logging into the app and setting up appointments. So very strong benefits that we can offer our employees that may deter them from having to go to an urgent care or an emergency room, which may have a higher cost too. So they're nice options.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Aaron, thank you for beaming in this evening. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
And board, thank you.
Okay, policies. Ashley, you got an hour or two, right? Come on up.
So good evening, Board Chair Klatt, School Board members, Superintendent Krenz. As Director Schindler, Director Hoffman, and Director Nelson mentioned, we did meet as a policy committee meeting on March 17th. We did review 12 policies. Some include revisions from MSBA recommended from their legal team at MSBA, but also just ones that are good for the policy committee to review and bringing those forward for you to review as well. So I will start off with policy 104. So under school district mission statement, this is a policy that we would like to align to our strategic plan and our strategic roadmap. So really removing those aims that were listed under the mission statement and providing our current mission statement to ensure individual academic, social, and emotional growth that leads to engaged citizens and lifelong learners. Again, that is within our strategic roadmap and our strategic plan, and again, those core values that we'll strive for through that plan. So that is the first policy for this evening. Second policy, 203.7, is the posting place, just regarding those board agendas that do need to be posted at Brookside Education Center. So with the move of the boardroom, just really making it more of an ease for any committee member or any public to notice that our posting of the agendas will be right outside the boardroom, right outside the door, I believe, no longer on a bulletin board outside of the main office. So that is a slight change to that policy. Third policy for this evening, District Policy 306, Administrator Code of Ethics. So then again, this is one for review only, no changes to this policy. It really does align to the Code of Ethics for Minnesota school administrators and also the statutes that we do ask administrators to follow for Code of Ethics. So again, no revisions to this policy, but just a review. Moving on to policy 413, harassment and violence. This did update recently. A law expanded under the Minnesota Human Rights Act to include that definition of disability. And really what it is, I'll bring it up here. Under the protected classification, that definition now has an individual who may have an impairment that is episodic or in remission or would materially limit a major life activity. So that is directly from that expanded law through the Minnesota Human Rights Act. Policy 501, school weapons. This is one that was ready for review. And what we did find here is adding that definition of dangerous weapons, as well as reporting procedures to the Commissioner of Education that is required by statute. So Policy 501, that now does include dangerous weapons, and that definition includes a device or liquid that is capable of producing death or great bodily harm. So that is now listed under the definition portion of school weapons, and then again as that reporting procedure through the Commissioner of Education by July 31st of every school year. So before I move on to the next slide, any questions on those policies?
No,
Okay.
go ahead, Ashley.
All right. Policy 512, the school-sponsored student publications activities. You'll notice we did bring this forward in November of 2024, so just this past fall, really regarding that right for student publications and freedom of speech for students. What we did find in MSBA's recommendation is clarifying under the general statement of policy that it removes some confusion. So really it's removing the school district may exercise editorial control over the style and content of student expression in school-sponsored publications and activities. Again, that request is that we remove that portion as it's causing some confusion when implementing that law enacted student journalism, freedom of speech, and press. The next few policies, I will try my hardest to present them for Tanya Franks, who is unfortunately unable to be here tonight. So please be with me as I present this. But policy 609, that does include religion and religious and cultural observances. So as we discussed at the policy committee meeting, this does add the accommodations to any student who wishes to be excused from a curricular activity for a religious observance or American Indian cultural practice, observance, or ceremony. So again, this is aligning to the statute. And then just as a note, this was also discussed at the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee and those members through that as well. So that is with policy 609. 613, graduation requirements. This really includes that targeted instruction and intervention through the Minnesota READ Act. So that adds a little more revision, a little more substance to that language, and then also adds statutes listed in the policy, as well as the social studies that now must include U.S. history, geography, government, and citizenship, beginning of next school year. So any questions on those three policies?
Actually, the provision in the policy that speaks to personal finance, we've been doing that as a district already, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is correct. And if you do note, there is just a change that it really talks about a teacher in that licensure area that must be teaching that class. Yep.
Ashley, what kind of licensure is that required then, that you're speaking of?
Yep, that would be a business licensure. But then also it has that out-of-field permission. So that is something that we could get yearly in case, I think it says agricultural education, business, family and consumer science, social studies, or math. So that would just be a
So
yearly.
nothing to do with finance, just a general business.
Yep, yes. District Policy 614. This is a very similar policy to the student publications. This is one that we had brought forward in November this past fall, just regarding, we had put in there regarding retaliation. So prohibiting retaliation against an employee who discloses information to the MDE commissioner. And really, after the committee met and we discussed this, we're okay with leaving it in there. That is already listed under section 181.932, as it's listed, that retaliation is prohibited. So again, that is just for a review for the board tonight. Policy 620, credit for learning. This is really regarding that post-secondary language. I do believe Executive Franks had met with the high school administration team as well. This really adds firm dates as far as when students kind of have deadlines for that post-secondary enrollment. It also adds the language that that post-secondary institution has to let the district know if that student is going to or has withdrawn from a class. So those are the revisions under 620. 624, online learning options. This includes enrolling a student having the opportunity to enroll in an additional course with online learning provider under a separate agreement. And then that tuition or course fees that would then be on the parent or the family of that student. And then lastly, we have policy 906, community notification of sex offenders. This is just revisions to Articles 1 and 2, so rearranging so that they are in alphabetical order. And then MSBA's policy, or recommended to the policy, is regarding predatory offenders instead of the language sex offenders. Those are the policies that we have recommended for approval tonight. If there's any questions?
Any questions of Ashley or any of the committee members?
Ashley, it's the first reading.
These are MSBA recommended, so legislative changes, so one approval for tonight.
I'll move to approve the policies as presented.
Is there a second? Second. I'm still digesting, to be honest with you. Thank you to the committee for doing, I mean, one thing we have done, which I've seen and heard from the MSBA board, there's a lot of districts that don't review policies. They may be there since the early 2000s. So thank you for doing that. Like I said, there's some things in there that I digest that I might not be exactly 100% as I think about them over the weekend too. But again, I appreciate taking the guidance that you do. And that, again, is one of the things that MSBA does. We have on staff legal counsel that has an opportunity to review these and make sure that anything they do list out is within the constitutional guidelines and all that, so. Okay, any other discussion? Yep.
I'll just add that when we meet with the staff, they're really good about differentiating between what's statute or what's citing, if citing is changing or if nothing's changing, or if we approved a policy and now something's changed in statute and why that is happening, to help us understand that. And I think all of the ones we brought forward were in we're in that situation. So, but sometimes, you know, we can have some conversation about preference and, yeah.
I have one other question. Ashley, when the policies are approved, what's the next step when it comes to staff education about the changes in policy? What is that process?
That's a very good question. So we do have our policies live under our Google Drive. So thank you to Darcy for all of her work on this as well. It is a lot of work, as you can see, documenting those revisions. So then moving forward after that approval, getting it onto our master list. And that is something that we include into our employee guide handbook for the employees to review.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ashley. And that was one vote for all of the policies.
Chair Clott.
Yes, sir.
It just occurred to me what I forgot during my report concerning Education Foundation, that Tanya has either sent out an email to our teaching staff or will about teacher grants, which is always a popular time of the year for teachers, so I encourage them to get out there and apply for a teacher grant.
There's always money for that, right, sir? You know it. All right, that exhausts the agenda tonight. Thank you for everyone for making our meeting tonight. Just a reminder, Monday, May 5th, we have a study session, and then again, our next regularly scheduled school board meeting for business of the district is Monday, May 19th. Thank you again for hanging around. Meeting's adjourned.